The MCU is a massive juggernaut of not only big special effects and shocking self-reflection, but also talent, specifically talent in front of the camera. A huge number of Hollywood stars have come and gone from the franchise, with almost definitely false rumors of Tom Holland maybe taking a break from his role as everyone's favorite friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I thought I should take a look at the careers of some of these MCU stars before and after their Marvel-ous tenures with Kevin Feige's horrifying success, Juggernaut. Of course, for clickbait reasons, I gotta start with Tom Holland, who, with Uncharted in theaters and some of the most profitable movies of all time under his belt, is probably not taking a hiatus or leaving his bickering fam anytime soon. But just for funsies, let's take a gander. Holland, of course, started off as a pretty successful child actor in films like 2012's The Impossible and the UK's voice for show in The Secret World of Arrietty. After the rapid succession of 2013's How I Live Now and the 2015 Moby Dick flick In the Heart of the Sea, well, he showed up in Captain America Civil War in 2016, and bada bing bada boom, you got yourself a major Hollywood star. He, of course, made a few less than favorable flicks during his tenure as Spider-Man, but that didn't stop him from decimating the box office with No Way Home. Wait, no. There we go. As mentioned, he currently has Uncharted in theaters and just inked a deal to star in Apple TV Plus's new show, The Crowded Room, with Dragon Ball's very own Emmy Rossum, and he's even playing Fred Astaire in an upcoming biopic from Sony. Busy boy. Of course, there are only a handful of actors who seem to have maybe permanently left the MCU fold. The biggest, of course, is Robert Downey Jr., whose arc as Tony Stark built the foundation on which the franchise is set. His death in Avengers Endgame remains a massive emotional beat that is unlikely to get the F9 Han treatment anytime soon. Before the MCU, Downey, of course, had several hits with films like Chaplin and Natural Born Killers, not to mention his oft-praised role in the Bret Easton Ellis adaptation Less Than Zero. But his career had gone into a bit of a tailspin in the 90s. In the early 2000s, though, he was staging a bit of a comeback with roles in Gothica, The Shaggy Dog, A Scanner Darkly, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, personal favorite right there, and of course, David Fincher's Zodiac, before in 2008 landing the role of Iron Man after Jon Favreau campaigned for him to the higher-ups. You know the rest. And after his MCU tenure, well, he made Doolittle. As far as what's coming next, he has a role as Lewis Strauss in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, and Sherlock Holmes 3 will most likely start up production in the not-too-distant future after being delayed multiple times, and last we heard, will be directed by Rocketman's Dexter Fletcher. Now that one's still up in the air though. Downey is also set for HBO and A24's adaptation of the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, The Sympathizer. Another one we're not likely to see again anytime soon, but whom I wouldn't count out in the long term, is Captain America himself, Chris Evans. I don't know why I said it though, Chris Evans. Will he wind up running a secret SHIELD group on the moon, or some other nonsense? Maybe. Will he show up as a variant version of himself as part of the ongoing Marvel Multiverse Madness? Perhaps. Either which way though, Evans showed up as Cap a total of 11 times if we're including Loki-as-Cap, following a career as other superheroes like the Human Torch and whatever his character's name was in Push. Following his tenure in the MCU, he most notably showed up as Ransom Drysdale in Knives Out and became King of Unexpected Cameos with the 1-2 punch of Free Guy and Don't Look Up. Now, while he does have a handful of other projects lined up, his next big role is, of course, Buzz Lightyear in Lightyear.
White noise is fine.
Very well.
Good night, Socks.
Good night, Buzz.
In more acrimonious relationships with the House of Mouse, we have Scarlett Johansson, who managed to squeak out one more MCU movie after Black Widow's death in Avengers Endgame, before having a bit of a scuffle with Walt's legal squad. Before debuting as Natasha Romanoff in Iron Man 2 in 2010, Johansson was perhaps most notable for her absolutely landmark work as Molly in Home Alone 3, before her career took off in the early 2000s with roles in the Coens' The Man Who Wasn't There, Ghost World, Eight-Legged Freaks, Lost in Translation, Girl with a Pearl Earring, Match Point, The Prestige, The Nanny Diaries, and The Other Boleyn Girl, which, that's from 2001 to 2008. Like, that's not too shabby. During her tenure, Johansson managed quite a few other notable roles, like doing voice work in Her, Sing, and Isle of Dogs, as well as lead roles in Under the Skin, Ghost in the Shell, and of course, Marriage Story. She hasn't appeared in anything post-MCU aside from a voice role in Sing 2, but that's kinda to be expected when your last film was in July of last year, and, you know, we've had the whole panini happening. Up next, she has the Wes Anderson film Asteroid City, which she stars in alongside Tom Hanks, Margot Robbie, Sophia Lillis, Bryan Cranston, and a whole host of names that you would kind of expect in a Wes Anderson movie. Also Tony Revolori, aka Flash Thompson in the Spider-Man films. He's tucked away in that cast, and of course he got his big break starring in Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel. That's very off topic, that's tangential. Anyway, ScarJo is also set to star in Gloria Bell director Sebastian Lelio's Bride, which is basically a modern reworking of The Bride of Frankenstein. Beyond that, she has a new skincare line that's apparently kind of controversial or something, so moving on. Michael B. Jordan is another actor whom, while having a short career, i.e. one freaking movie in the MCU, I wouldn't be shocked to see make a return, what with the, you know, that aforementioned multiversal tomfoolery. But for now, he's post-MCU, so let's just rattle off some notables real quick. Of course, he's been around for a while, with his role as Wallace in The Wire really kicking off his career back in 2002. Lots of primarily TV work followed, including a memorable stint on Friday Night Lights and a handful of attempts at the Hollywood movie machine before becoming a household name with his heartbreaking role as Oscar Grant in Fruitvale Station, directed of course by Black Panther's Ryan Coogler. He also voiced Cyborg in Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox, and played Johnny Storm in 2015's Fantastic Four, which of course received, let's call it mixed reception, before Coogler came calling again for the Rocky sequel Creed in 2015. This of course led to 2018's Black Panther, wherein he became the favorite villain for many MCU fans. Following this, he knocked out starring roles in Fahrenheit 451, Creed 2, Just Mercy, and presumably because he's a big old nerd, he provided the lead voice of Julian Chase in Genlock for Rooster Teeth. He did also technically return briefly as Killmonger in the MCU in 2 episodes of What If. There's been a few other projects, like a lead in the Tom Clancy action flick Without Remorse for Prime Video, and an appearance as one of the more memorable moments in Space Jam: A New Legacy. And the future, you know, it looks bright beyond that. Creed 3 is currently filming with fellow MCU alum Jonathan Majors and Tessa Thompson in supporting roles, and perhaps most importantly, with Jordan himself in the director's chair. Another one we could see return is Gwyneth Paltrow, whose character Pepper Potts is notably still alive within the MCU. Paltrow herself has, she's moved away from acting in recent years, preferring to do whatever insane nonsense Goop is up to nowadays. Let's see. Arson? Okay, sure, why not? In 2019, she was quoted as saying, can't believe this is real. I never read stuff, but it is confusing because there are so many Marvel movies, and to be honest, I haven't seen very many of them. It's really stupid, and I'm sorry, but I'm a 47-year-old mother. I just can't. Guys, this is really stupid. I'm a 32-year-old father. All right, sorry. Which, you know, obviously she's not knocking down Kevin Feige's door for more work with that kind of remark. Prior to the MCU, Paltrow was a super successful actress, having effectively started off in a Spielberg joint before getting ahead with Seven and Paul Thomas Anderson's criminally underrated Hard 8, alongside fellow MCU actors John C. Reilly and Samuel L. Jackson. 1998's Shakespeare in Love won her an Oscar for her role as, Shakespeare's Booty Call, I think. I don't remember. The Talented Mr. Ripley, The Royal Tenenbaums, Shallow Hal, and of course, her greatest role, Polly Perkins in Sky Captain and The World of Tomorrow, all before she wound up tripping into comic book movie history with her role in 2008's Iron Man. Now, since then, her career has been fairly lax, with most of her time spent on her Lady Parts scented candle regime Goop, which she began the same year. She was, of course, in Mordecai in 2015, so, like, you know, don't count her out for another Oscar or anything. Was that too snarky? feel like that was too snarky. Either which way, aside from a role in the Netflix series The Politician, that seems to be it acting-wise for Gwyneth Paltrow post-MCU. And, you know, why not? She's a huge success selling, what does she got up there? What the fuck is that?
I am Iron Man.
Back to dead people, though. Josh Brolin, of course, showed up in a handful of cameo appearances before bringing down the house in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, wherein he eventually lost out to Tony Stark, and, you know, things got a little dusty. As with everyone else on the list, just, you know, for those of you in the back, Brolin could very well return in some capacity. After all, we have been introduced to his brother in that weird mid-credit sequence in Eternals with the awful CGI.
Oh, my ears!
And Brolin did lend his voice to a humorous variant of Thanos in What If. But for now, you know, he did. Now, prior to his role, Brolin was, of course, descended from Hollywood royalty, son of James Brolin, and got his acting start in 1985 in The Goonies. You know, not bad. From there, he showed up in a lot of stuff, notably with a lead role in the 1989 TV series The Young Riders, the 1997 Guillermo del Toro giant mutant cockroach movie Mimic, Hollow Man in 2000, and 2007's Grindhouse segment Planet Terror, where he was a very bad husband, before that same year rocketing to superstardom with his lead role in the Coen brothers' No Country for Old Men. Now from there, he notably portrayed George W. Bush in Oliver Stone's W, super douche Dan White in Milk, and even played in the DC Sandbox a bit with the very well-received and definitely very good film Jonah Hex. Honestly, I could go on all day. Dude's in so many notable flicks, but it was shortly after his roles in Men in Black 3, Gangster Squad, that Spike Lee Oldboy remake, and the extremely underrated 2013 Jason Reitman drama Labor Day, yes, I will die on this hill, that he made his debut as Thanos in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy. By the way, it always drives me nuts because I know that I'm the guy that always mispronounces things, but I know a Greek guy named Thanos. And it breaks my brain because I always want to say Thanos when I'm doing these videos, but it's Thanos because Marvel decided it was Thanos. But the actual, the origin of that is the Greek Thanos. Anyway, in 2018, 1 year before his dusting, Brolin also showed up as Cable in Deadpool 2, meaning he now has two characters who could reappear in some capacity within the MCU. Since his character's demise, he's only shown up in that one Sean Penn movie you forgot came out, and of course Dune, in which he played Gurney Halleck, and reminded us all that he's a freaking badass. As far as what the future holds, well, he's got Dune Part 2, niche, as well as a TV series, Outer Range, currently in post-production, and that comes out in April on Prime Video. That one looks super weird, by the way. I'm actually kind of excited about it. The official synopsis calls it a thrilling fable with hints of wry humor and supernatural mystery. Outer Range examines how we grapple with the unknown. Gimme. He's also in a film entitled Brothers, which does not have a release date just yet, but comes from director Mark Barbacow, who also helmed that rad Groundhog Day riff, Palm Springs. It also co-stars Brendan Fraser, Peter Dinklage, and Glenn Close, so sign me right on up for that sucker as well. Just proving that this might be the most interesting post-MCU career of the lot, he's also got another show he created that's been announced entitled The Untitled Josh Brolin Project. That is the name. It is, and I quote, about a soulless movie star named Josh Brolin who leaves Hollywood, has an ayahuasca trip, and becomes a self-help guru. Y'all, I am so excited for the future of my big purple space daddy, you have no idea. And just because I like a nice round number, Jeff Bridges notably got in and out on the ground floor with his role in Iron Man. He's also, well, he's Jeff freaking Bridges, you know him. He was the dude. He's been acting since he was a kid in the 50s. He was in The Last Picture Show, Rancho Deluxe, that weird King Kong movie, Heaven's Gate, freaking Tron. As far as what he's up to these days, aside from kicking cancer's ass, he's got a show on FX coming out sometime this year entitled The Old Man, about a former CIA officer on the run from peeps who want him dead. Like you do. Oddly enough, that show features Iron Man's side villain Raza actor Farhan Tahir. although in what capacity I can only speculate. Presumably he tries to assassinate Jeff Bridges, but then Old Man Bridges is like, here, have some free earbuds, and Ferran is like, yo, sweet, free earbuds, and then they're best friends.
It's a shame the government didn't approve. There's so many applications